Hi there, and welcome to A Song of Ice and Fire Explained. This is a video series where we'll explain the massive conspiracies going on in A Song of Ice and Fire. If you haven't watched our prologue chapter, we suggest watching that first. So let's continue on with Bran 1, A Game of Thrones. This chapter is 3,016 words long, and is told from the perspective of Bran, the second youngest son of Lord Eddard Stark and Lady Catelyn. In this chapter, Bran is made to watch an execution when his father dispenses justice to a Night's Watch deserter. When they're on their way back to Winterfell, Jon Snow and Robb Stark find 6 orphan direwolf pups. This chapter foreshadows some interesting conspiracies, but we'll get into that later in the video. In the 9th year of summer, 7-year-old Bran Stark is travelling with a party of 20 men, including his father, to see the king's justice done. This is the first time Bran has been allowed to join. His older brother Robb thinks the man to be executed must be sworn to Mance Rayder, the king beyond the wall, which makes Bran think of old Nan's tales about the wildlings. The offender turns out to be an old man, dressed in the ragged blacks of the Night's Watch, who has lost his ears and a finger to frostbite. We all know this man to be Garrett from the prologue chapter. However, exactly how he got so far south of the wall remains a mystery. It is unlikely that he could have escaped past Mormont at Castle Black or Eastwatch, but we'll talk about this later. Lord Eddard questions Garrett briefly. Then 2 guardsmen drag Garrett to the stump of a weirwood, and Theon Greyjoy brings Eddard his Valyrian steel sword, Ice. Theon is both a ward and hostage of the Iron Throne, and House Stark after the failed Greyjoy rebellion in 289. Eddard pronounces Garrett's sentence to be death, and raises the blade. Jon Snow, Bran's bastard brother, reminds him not to look away, and so Bran watches as his father strikes off the man's head with a single stroke. The head lands near Theon, who laughs and kicks it away. Jon calls Theon an ass under his breath, and compliments Bran on his pose during the execution. On the way back to Winterfell, Robb and Jon argue about whether or not the deserter died bravely, before racing their horses to the bridge, leaving Bran behind. Eddard rides up and asks if Bran knows why he executed the man himself. Bran replies that the man was a wildling. Eddard corrects him and says that the man was a deserter. Then explains the first men, whom the Starks are descended from, believe that the man who passes the sentence should wield the sword and perform the execution himself, lest he become too comfortable with ordering deaths, and the Starks still hold to that principle. We also get one of the best lines from both the book and show. Bran thought about it. Can a man still be brave if he's afraid? That is the only time a man can be brave, his father told him. We'll be quoting from the book directly sometimes in these videos. Jon calls from up ahead for them to see what he and Robb have found. They find Robb holding something in his arms, next to the corpse of a wolf larger than Bran's pony. Jon correctly identifies the corpse as a direwolf. Theon comments that direwolves have not been seen south of the wall for 200 years. Bran then notices that Robb is cradling a small pup and gives it a stroke after Robb reassures him. Jon gives Bran another pup. When they inspect the mother's corpse, they find a large piece of shattered antler lodged in her throat. The soldiers in the company feel this to be a bad omen. Theon offers to kill the pups, but Bran protests. Eddard initially states killing them would be best, but then Jon Snow interjects. Lord Stark, Jon said. It was strange to hear him call father that, so formal. Bran looked at him with desperate hope. There are 5 pups, he told father. 3 male, 2 female. What of it, Jon? You have 5 true-born children, Jon said. 3 sons, 2 daughters. The direwolf is the sigil of your house. Your children were meant to have these pups, my lord. Bran saw his father's face change. The other men exchanged glances. He loved Jon with all his heart at that moment. Even at 7, Bran understood what his brother had done. The Count had come right only because Jon had omitted himself. He had included the girls, included even Rickon, but not the bastard who bore the surname Snow. This is one of our favourite Jon moments, so we thought to include it. Robb and Bran both declare that they are willing to nurse their pups. Eddard stresses that the children must feed and raise the pups themselves, not pass them off to the servants. Must treat the direwolves well, lest they become dangerous, and bury them should they die, which is a show-only inclusion. Both Robb and Bran state they will not allow the pups to die. As they begin to ride away, Jon hears a noise, and goes back to discover a 6th pup, an albino with red eyes, that had crawled away from its mother. Bran finds it curious that it is the only pup that has opened its eyes. Theon claims that the albino will die quicker than the others, but Jon disagrees, claiming it for himself, and this is where Bran 1, A Game of Thrones ends. Now, there is the mystery of who sent the direwolves. It is theorized that Bloodraven might have sent them to unlock the Stark children's warging abilities, since, as you'll see, the direwolves greatly influence both the story and the Stark children. For example, Greywind wins Robb the battle at Oxcross. Summer saves Bran multiple times and awakens his third eye. Both Arya and Jon Snow have wolf dreams that influence them. Shaggy Dog is the proof that Rickon is the trueborn heir to Winterfell, and Lady's death helps awaken Sansa to the savagery at court. The mother direwolf, killed by a shattered antler, convinces Catelyn to send her children away. All in all, the arrival of the direwolves heralded great change and potentially allows a powerful skin changer like Bloodraven to influence the Stark children through their pets. We believe the Side of Ice uses animals to influence events, like warging a boar to kill Robert at the right time, Mormont's Raven helping Jon win the Lord Commander election, Ghost finding the dead rangers which then cross the wall and become whites, spurring the disastrous Great Ranging. Meanwhile, the Side of Fire uses glass candles, which are introduced in A Dance of Dragons to influence people's dreams. However, one really scary thought is that the pet direwolves have been controlled by Bloodraven this whole time. May I touch your wolf? The thought made Jon uneasy. Best not. He will not harm me. You call him Ghost, yes? Yes, but Ghost. Melisandre made the word a song. The direwolf padded toward her. Wary, he stalked about her, in a circle, sniffing. When she held out her hand, he smelled that too, then shoved his nose against her fingers. Jon let out a white breath. He is not always so warm. Warmth calls to warmth for Jon Snow. Her eyes were two red stars, shining in the dark. At her throat, a ruby gleamed, a third eye glowing brighter than the others. Jon had seen Ghost's eyes blazing red the same way, when they caught the light just right. Ghost, he called, to me. The direwolf looked at him as if he were a stranger. Jon frowned in disbelief. That's queer. So this right now could suggest the powers of ice are forcing the direwolves to obey the Stark children, and Melisandre's fire magic repelled the spell Ghost was under. Lastly, the execution of Garrett foreshadows that the old gods prefer to receive human sacrifice through weirwood stumps, because as we know in Bran 3, A Dance of Dragons, Bran and Bloodraven devour this blood to make themselves stronger. In A Dance of Dragons, Melisandre calls Bran and Bloodraven the champions of the old gods, the eternal enemy. The wooden man she had glimpsed, and the boy with the wolf's face, they were his servants, surely. His champions, as Stannis was hers. So it seems many characters in A Song of Ice and Fire believe there is going to be a battle between fire and ice, or that is what George wants us and his characters to believe is going to happen. Lastly, how did the pregnant direwolf and Garrett get south of the wall? It has been theorized that the Black Gate could have been used, but who opened it for them? Since it can only be opened by a member of the Night's Watch, reciting their vows, similar to what Sam did in A Storm of Swords. Anyway, we should find out more in the Winds of Winter. And that's about it for Bran 1, A Game of Thrones. In the next video, we'll cover Catelyn 1 and continue from there. In the meantime, here are some of the other differences between the HBO TV show and book. In the show, Will is the deserter being executed, not Garrett. In the book, Garrett is dead with fear and gives no final words. In contrast, Will tries to warn House Stark about the White Walkers before calling himself a coward and asking word be sent to his family. Everyone looks on solemnly at this, not sure what to make of his claim about the White Walkers. It should also be mentioned that many scenes from the books have characters sitting atop horses, while in the TV series they are just standing around, since it was easier to film the scenes that way. But a clear distinction between nobility and peasantry is that nobility rarely go outside without riding horses. In the book, Garrett's last words are not mentioned. Moreover, Ned does not discuss with Bran what the deserter said. In the next chapter, Ned tells Catelyn that the deserter was half man. Something had put a fear in him so deep, no one could reach him. The Winterfell soldiers' capture of Will is not described in the book. There are several additional scenes in the TV series taking place in Winterfell, which introduce the Stark family. Bran is shown practicing archery while his father is watching him. The scene with needlework, which involves Sansa and Arya, comes from Arya 1 and takes place after King Robert's arrival. Arya is also shown to be an accurate archer, while in the books she doesn't know how to fire a bow and wishes she could learn. Arya has not shot a single arrow in any of the books. In the book, Theon kicks the severed head of the executed deserter and laughs. This action disgusts Jon Snow, who dislikes Theon, and vice versa. In the show, Theon does not kick the severed head of the deserter. And he is shown to be on good terms with Jon before they part ways. In the book, between the execution of the deserter and the discovery of the direwolf pups, Robb and Jon have a riding race. This is omitted in the show. Events of the TV series are 17 years after Robert's rebellion, while in the book they are only 14 years. Thus, the Stark children are each about 3 years older than their ages in the book. Robb and Jon are 17 instead of 14 turning 15. Bran is 10 instead of 7, and Rickon's age is increased from 3 to 6. The Stark's girls' birth years are altered. Sansa is 13 instead of 11, turning 12, and Arya is 11 instead of 9. Likewise, the royal children are older. Joffrey is 16 instead of 12, Marcella is 11 instead of 8, and Tommen is 10 instead of 7. Daenerys is 16 instead of 13, turning 14. In the book, snow covers the ground around Winterfell, and the pups are found waist deep in snow. In the TV series, there is no snow. In the book, the Starks do not find a stag nor any other animal except the direwolf and its puppies. Anyway, that's about it for today's episode. If you want to see more of A Song of Ice and Fire Explained, please like, share, and subscribe.